know something's strange. As a child I'd been to this place. I thought it was vivid visions and dreams of a young mind. But some of the parts described reminded me of a place I went to when I was young. Much like Alice down the rabbit hole I had to go, or sometimes a doorway not visible in our world, or sometimes a stone setting on a wall held an archway that would open if individually touched, or a word said before entering a tunnel. Either way, in once the time would pass much more slowly, and it changed each time I would go back. I would end up caught in some scenario, and though it would seem like hours, by the time I got back the entire day would be gone when I came back through. Sometimes things didn't even make sense, but everyone would be looking at me like I was weird. Like one time I stepped through into a grand theater type place, but there were all different type of species. The theater seating was like that of the Star Wars Council of the Republic. Each seating area had 2 individuals each, and these security guards kept taking who and what I was, and someone kept answering, saying I was Kidrit, representing Earth. Whenever someone heard it they sneered at me and waved me through. When we got to our seats I saw this guy. He seemed like a black man, but his facial features were sharp around the curves of his chin. His head had 2 spiral grooves, horns sticking up out of his head that joined with his face at the temples and forehead. This orange red-like mist was pulled around the center where the 2 horns met. Someone referred to him as the Supreme Galactic High Counselor or something like that. Someone asked if I needed a tripod implant so I could see. I turned, and this rat-faced guy in a bellhop-like uniform was looking at me with beaded pure red eyes. We both jumped and said simultaneously, except I said rat and he said human. I think I said something about calling him Mr. Ratfink, and he muttered something about a monkey's uncle. Then I left to go find the doorway I came through, and as I was passing through, 2 erasers were traveling towards each other, one moving horizontally, the other vertically, and when they collided reality smashed like a window pane, and when I came to, I was laying face first on the grass in my backyard, but I don't remember how I got there from the garage doorway on the other side of the house, and 8 hours had passed during that short conversation. Okay, now on to some quantum science, brought to you by the guy that flipped the light switch on, Lucifer. Now, first up is the subject of deep space voids. What are they? What made them, and what are they made of? Having recently folded space to reach the local, Boots void region, I took a survey to see through remote viewing what was there, using that method of travel rather than projection, just in case I stumbled into some black hole. What I found was kinda amazing, even to me. First thing I noticed when I got there was the surrounding region of space felt very familiar. Or a better description was it felt like a lack of familiarity. The region of the void was very similar to that of the primordial void. What created it was even more shocking. Examining the threads of time's reflection, I went back to observe what was there when something was actually there and what caused it. I found that an explosion beyond imagination had occurred. The collision of 2 quasar stars. The mass of a quasar star is equivalent to that of an entire galaxy, because that is what most basic quasar stars are, except those during the early expansion era when the cosmic web was created. At that time the material that is the fundamental building blocks of galactic cores were rocketing across empty space, with the mass of the most extreme stars recently discovered that defy the laws of physics and were half the size of our Milky Way. In the center of these stars were the ionized photon plasma remnants of the Big Bang material. Very dense, very supercharged. It seems billions of years ago, some of these stars had collided, and the explosion was so extreme and so severe, that it tore a hole in the threads of interwoven particles that stayed that way. That dark expanse stretching particle matter so far apart within the void is the remnant effect of that, and the size of the void is the boundary of its blast radius. However, that other unknown dark energy material that scientists have been trying to figure out if it's dark matter or not, is the primordial void trying to seep through. The interwoven fabrics are blasted so thin and stripped of almost all fusing particle matter that a stick of dynamite might be enough to tear a hole and eject whatever is in the area into the void beyond space and time, where it would cease to exist, in theory of course. Of course it also could tear the rest of the universe apart and everything would cease to exist. I definitely am going to have to patch those areas up quickly before they spread apart any further. So off I go again to end the beginning of the end. Oh, and by the way, considering that the Andromeda and Milky Way galaxy collision is basically two quasar stars colliding, the remnant after effect would be 1/16 the equivalent to that of the amount of force that caused these voids to form. The collision of those ancient quasars were still strong and fresh. The remnants with the core of our galaxies are severely diluted compared to those types of quasars. Now for a word from our sponsors, Hell the Good Hands people. Don't be mad, get glad with the Devil's Instagrin motivational audiobooks. Now you too can gain the self-esteem to face the schoolyard bully, overbearing boss, or even that crunchy cunt flakes of an ex-wife with the Devil's Instagrin self-help montage tapes. That's right, Dick, tell him what he's won for being our 666th caller.
Ha ha ha, that's good shit right there. Dick Cheney here to tell you about this wonderful, democratically endorsed product that comes with a flying diaper nugget seal of approval. If you act now you'll get there, holier than thou art, Pope's Path of Destiny, package of absolution substituted for your free will and replaced by this built-in, bullshit, cheap-ass, crockpot accessory for only the small price of your soul. And a buttload of Foonions.
Alternate forms of payment such as sacrificial Angus beef offerings, and acts of adore leading up to epic historical events are accepted under special conditions. Offers only accepted in participating realms. Standard restrictions apply. See your local cancel culture representative for details. Act now while supplies last. Forward all complaints and business license inquiries to the I Don't Give a Shit Department, Suite 666, Floor 13, in the I Say So Corporate Complex, in Tuskegee, Alabama, cause, where else would hell on earth be? Cause here at I Say So,
Man lives in the sunlit world of what he believes to be reality. But there is, unseen by most, an underworld, a place that is just as real, but not as brightly lit. A dark side.